Welcome back, Scrunchy Moms Club.
Hello. This is a very, very exciting day here. We've been kind of hinting at it in the last few episodes, but Lila was being very hush hush, did not want to spoil it.
I was, because I want the listeners, this is a episode that for the first time we didn't have to like bribe a family member or a friend to come on. Like she's legit. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Candice, who is a doula. But not only any doula, she helped. Well, she didn't deliver, but she helped deliver my nephew Xander with my sister. And so, Candice, welcome to Scrunchy Moms Club.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on here.
Yes, we are too. Like I said, you're our first legit guest. It's a very big deal here. And I'm just so excited because I've been wanting to like sit down with a doula for so long. And me also being pregnant right now, it's something I've been like low key thinking about maybe, and especially since my sister had such a good experience with you. I wish you could come to Orlando, but that's fine. But yeah, like we're just so excited. So I mean, we're just gonna jump right in because usually we do like banter in the beginning of the show, but like you're our banter, you're our topic, you are it. So let's make it about this today. So kind of like because I really didn't even know what a doula was until about like 6 months ago. So like kind of like describe what it is to be a doula. What kind of like made you want to be a doula?
Yeah, so a doula is a non-medical staff person who assists a birthing individual during their labor and delivery. So we support them mentally, emotionally. Some of us do spiritually. We are basically
Mm.
your backbone when you're at your most vulnerable moment in labor and delivery. There are a wide variety of doulas. I am a full spectrum doula, so I cover the full cycle of life. So I cover from fertility, prenatal, birth, and postpartum, and as well as death. So I follow I do the full
Mm.
spectrum. Yeah, but most people
Cool.
are
So you
familiar
like,
with. Mhm.
sorry, if someone were to, God forbid, have a stillborn, you're with them for that too. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Wow, I've
So
never heard
so I
about that.
assist so I assist any individuals that may have had a miscarriage, or they deliver a stillborn, or even those that are dying from like terminal illnesses that they know that they only have like 6 months to live. My role is to support them in making all of their final arrangements, and also supporting their family when they need it, because a lot of times families can't handle that
Yeah.
aspect of that someone is, like they know someone is it only has like 6 months to live or something like that. So that's where I step in and I help and I guide them in making the arrangements and the plans, and making sure that my clients' wishes are fulfilled. So yeah, it varies.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Wow. See, like I
basically,
would
basically you're an angel. It's fine. You're just
literally like that's what your resume should say.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
wow.
See, I didn't know about all of that. I knew about like supporting, the mother and kind of being an advocate.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, for instance, in my sister's case, like she had a pretty traumatic birth beforehand, and then
Mhm.
um and she wanted somebody there that wasn't necessarily her husband and wasn't necessarily a medical, but someone there. And she ended up having the redemption that she like really I
Yeah.
mean, I know hers was wild. It was like very very sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so do you find that whenever do you find that you're mostly with second time moms and not always first time moms? I'm curious.
I actually get more first time moms than I do second time moms.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Why
would
do you think that
definitely.
is?
Um, I feel like, well, I will say, I feel like that the age bracket between like 20 to maybe like 30, they are all into TikTok. They're all into, like, the social media. So then they're seeing like all of these things about doulas. It's like all of a sudden doulas have become like a trend in the birth world. So
Mm.
then a lot of them are like, I need a doula. I want a doula. Like I've seen it on TikTok, I've seen it on Instagram. So I think that is why a lot of first time moms, especially in that age bracket to like 2030, they're like, I need a doula.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
feel like the older moms, they're kind of like, oh, I don't need this. Like I'm,
You've done it
I'm
before,
pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah. Or yeah. And sometimes even the second moms are kind of like, I've been on this rodeo before. I'm good. Um, but a lot of my second time moms, sometimes they've had their first experience was a traumatic experience. So then that's when they're
Right.
like, oh yeah, I want a doula. I need that support. I need that information. So yeah, so I find that's how it is for me.
Oh wow. So like how long have you been a doula?
So I have been a doula for 9 years. Um, I became a certified doula a year ago, and I launched my business a year ago full time. Yeah.
Wow. So like what is yeah, one of my questions was like what are like the qualifications? Like what does it take to become a doula?
Yes, so across the United States, you do not have to be a certified doula. So you could
Mm.
wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to be a doula and I'm going to support some moms during their,
Oh.
birthing experience or their postpartum experience, whatever it is that you choose. You don't have to be certified. So that's why I say I've been a doula for 9 years, but certified for one. The difference is when you choose to become certified, you now can accept clients that have Medicaid, private insurance, or any other programs that they have that will pay for their services. You have to be certified. But to become
Mm.
certified, it truly varies. It depends on which organization you choose to go with and what type of doula that you want to be. So for me, it took about it took me about, I'll say, about a year for me to get all
Mm.
of the certifications that I needed to be considered a certified doula in what I do.
Wow,
Mm.
that actually was going to be one of my questions was because a lot of people who are thinking about getting a doula, I think the money aspect kind of maybe
Yes.
why they're hesitant. So I was wondering if insurance does cover it, but that's amazing that nowadays some insurances will cover some of it.
But not
Yes.
only that, but I wanted to ask you about it, Candice, was like I know there's like government programs or or
Hmm.
things of that nature that like help like how can cuz yeah, the price tag on a doula is,
Yeah.
it's a good amount. So
Yeah.
but like what other like if somebody wanted to get a doula, like what could they do to either find go through insurance or go through like a
hmm
government program? Like how does that all work?
Yeah, so in the state of Florida, you can get a doula through the Healthy Start Coalition if there is a
Mm.
coalition in your county or city. Um, right now, they're trying to implement it into all of the Healthy Start coalitions in the state of Florida. So not all of them have that doula program yet, but they're definitely expanding and they're working on it.
Hmm.
But
I
you can
wonder
get
if Orange County has it. Hmm.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
They
I'll have to look
probably,
into it.
yeah, I want to
It's a
say
big
quite a
county, so
few. Yeah, quite a few counties are have it. They're offering it, and it's a free program. You just basically inquire, you sign up, and then they hook you up with a doula. And then there's other programs. S- Yeah, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
no, sorry,
Oh.
because so with my sister, did she match with you or how did that work?
Yes, so your sister, I became your sister's doula through Healthy Start Coalition of Pinellas
Yeah.
County. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's like other big large businesses and organizations, they fund these programs with Healthy Start. to basically
Okay.
pay for the services that these clients are getting for free. Um,
That's so cool, and no one knows about this.
yeah, yeah. In Tampa, there is a program that is called Reach Up. They offer free doula services as well. And then if you are a Medicaid recipient, you can get a free doula through your Medicaid. You go through an organization that is called the Doula Network. And what
Mm.
they do is they match you with a doula. And you do have the choice with the doula network. You do have the choice to put your preferences in of what sort of doula you're looking for, because there is a wide range of titles when it comes to doulas. There's so many. So you can put your
Yeah.
preferences of like what particular kind of doula you're looking for, or if you're looking for a religious doula, or a female or a male, you can put whatever you like. And then they try to
Oh,
match
there's
you
male
with the person.
doulas?
Oh, yeah, there's male doulas for sure.
That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's pretty
I mean, like,
awesome.
good for you, but if
Yeah.
you wanna, like, because
Yeah,
what happens down there is none of my business, I don't wanna know. I don't
yeah.
know. I couldn't do it.
No, but it makes so much sense because I feel like doulas are almost like your therapist for those 9 months, like you really have to match on, if you don't vibe, it might not work. So you kind of
Yeah.
might want someone who matches on your values, your beliefs, like very pro natural birth, very pro medical birth, like whatever. So I
Yes.
that makes total sense. And I love that, yeah, like you said, nobody knows about that these benefits are there. You just kind of have to inquire about it. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
definitely. Yeah, especially like with your private insurance, they will cover like postpartum services for you. You just have to use your flex if you have to have flexible spending accounts.
Mhm.
There's programs that are called there's one program that's called Carrot. um
Mhm.
they will help pay for like reimburse you for doula services if you invest in them. Like it's there's just so many things that are out there
Wow.
that you can
That's
like pay
amazing.
out of pocket and they will like pay you back. They will reimburse you back. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So I kind of wanted to break down, like, I think when you think about doula, like you said, you're full spectrum. So you literally do everything, which is
Yeah.
so insane. But I think when people think about a doula, especially with like pregnancy, I think one during pregnancy and then a postpartum doula are like the main two people sort of think
Yes.
about, or at least me. So I kind of wanted to break down, at least for a doula that's going to help you during pregnancy, like, when would you suggest someone hire a doula? Like, would it be right when you find out you're pregnant? Would it be, in your last trimester? When do you most find that people will hire you? And then if you could kind of take us through, like, what kind of does a doula entail? Like, do you come to appointments? Is it just sort of a text phone call throughout the pregnancy? Because I think another thing, at least me,
Mhm.
when I think of a doula, I just know they're in the room with you, helping you, either home birth, water birth, hospital birth. But I think people don't really know, like, throughout your pregnancy what you do. So if you could kind of take us through that. Sorry, that was like a long question,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so a birth doula, most individuals that are birth doulas, they will take a doula at I mean, sorry, take a client at about 32 weeks. So it's usually like right when you're getting to you're at your like last trimester is usually when you get a like you have a doula that you've already
okay.
signed on. And the doula, there's so many different things that a doula can do. For me, for instance, like if a client's like, I want you to go with me to my doctor appointments, then I go with them to their doctor
Oh, wow.
appointments. um but typically I will come to their home. I usually do 2 to 3 visits before the birthday party time. And in those 2 or 3 visits, I go over breastfeeding positions. I go over labor movements, which we like to call as comfort measures. That's what we call it in the doula world. I go over what do you have packed in your bag, the different possible hospital scenarios, the, what can happen if you choose to get an epidural. So I basically inform them of everything, so that when they are in the moment, labor and delivery, they are well informed and can make informed decisions on things that are happening, because you never know how it's going to turn out. um
Yeah.
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
when
We
labor and
we talk
delivery
about
kicks
that a
in.
lot in the
Yeah.
podcast where you can have a plan, and it's great to have a plan, and it's great to have
Yeah.
boundaries set in place of what you want and what you don't want. But as we all know, things
Your
can sort
plan
of
can go to
Yeah,
shit.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, like I go over, I always have like my clients that are like, "Oh, I want to have a natural birth, and I want to breastfeed, I want to do this." And I'm like, "Okay, that is fabulous. Let me go over all of that with you, but we are also going to go over different scenarios of a C-section, different scenarios of
Mhm.
getting an epidural." I and they're like, "But that's not what I'm aiming for." And I'm like, "Yeah, I understand that is not what you're aiming for, but we are going to talk about it anyways, because if we, like once we're in that room, we don't know which direction this thing is going. So I
It's
would
all the
rather
baby is in charge. The baby
yeah.
is in charge. We don't know. It's their world.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. So I'm always like, I want you to know what's going to happen, like what can happen, so that we
that's
are all on the
amazing.
same page. Um, you asked, I can't remember what your question, I can't remember what else you asked me in your
Yeah, that was
question.
pretty much it, just, like, what it all entailed, and then, I did have, like, a silly question. You were talking about you can plan to do a natural birth, no epidural. So, obviously, no one really knows their pain tolerance, right? So they could
Mhm.
say, "I want natural, I don't want an epidural," like, so do you have clients that say that to you, like, "No matter what I say when I'm in that room, like, I do not want an epidural," but then you know, pain
They're in it.
contractions to 10 and they're like, "Get me the epidural." Like, so do you guys have like a safe word of like, if I say this, like you give it to me, or like do they tell you like no matter what I say, don't, like how do you navigate that? Because I would be like, you say you want it, but you told me not to let you have it. I don't know.
Yeah, so what I typically do is when my clients are like, I want a natural birth, I don't want an epidural. And then when we are at this birthday party and all of a sudden they're like, "Give me an epidural." I usually say to the nurses, "Can you give us about 5 minutes alone, so that I can have a conversation with her?" Usually what I do in my prenatal visits, I will ask my client, what is my goal, what is my job, what's the goal, what is the expectation you have from me. And so many of my clients that are choosing to go natural, they're like, by all means necessary, no epidural, you have to convince me not to get it. That is what I want you to do, like that is like the job that you have to stick with. So when we get those 5 minutes alone, I keep it real. And I'm like, "Look, you're not getting this epidural. I don't care how much this shit hurts. We're doing it. Like, you're going to take this
Yeah.
pain. And when this nurse comes back in, you're going to tell her you don't want an epidural." That is like, I get like old school mom on them,
No,
like
that's so great.
threatening them. And sometimes it works. And then sometimes they're like, "But I'm dying here. I can't do this." And so then I'm like, "All right, let's really talk about it." And every now and then I have to drop them the little scare tactics so that they're like, "Okay, no, 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 no. I don't want that epidural. I've changed my mind." Um yeah, I start giving them the little scare tactics of like the, common side effects of the epidural. Like I remind them of what I informed them in a prenatal visit, and then that's when they're like, "Yeah, no, forget that. Let me just suffer through it." And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I would say for the most
Yeah.
part it works when I'm like, "Can I get 5 minutes with them, please, so I
Yeah,
can have
I'm
this
sure that also
conversation?"
depends, like, if they're screaming in pain and you know they're only 2 centimeters dilated, you're like, "Okay, maybe we're not gonna last." But if
Yeah.
they're, like, at an 8, it's like, "You can do this." Like, just
Yeah.
Like
power
you're so
through.
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
That's
my gosh.
definitely.
yeah.
Well, speaking of all of that too, I kind of want to know like your craziest story. Like, do you have like a top like absolute craziest birth story?
um I would say probably my
that you'd
most
feel comfortable with sharing.
my most recent delivery, she was doing amazing through her laboring, and her water hadn't broke yet, so she was like, should I get my water broken? I'm like, it's all up to you, like, go ahead, let's do this if that's what you want to do. And she's like, yeah, let's break my water. So the doctor came and broke her water, and she was 5 centimeters dilated. She was just hanging out, chilling, watching TV, walking around. She got her water broke, and it went from no pain to she's crying, she's screaming in a matter of like seconds. And then she's
Yeah.
like, I need to go poop. So in the labor and delivery world, that saying of I need to go poop, it's sometimes like that's like the call of it's time to push.
Yeah.
Like you're
Mhm.
10 centimeters dilated, baby's ready to come out. And so the nurse was like, let me check you. And the nurse checks her, and she's like, no, you're still 5 centimeters dilated. Go sit on the toilet. You probably do need to take a poop. And she sits on the toilet, and now she has diarrhea, and she is having
Oh my
crazy
God.
contractions and crazy diarrhea, can't come off the toilet, she's crying, and she's just like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. She's like bitching and complaining, and just like she's angry. And
Of course.
it's like she must have spent maybe about 15 minutes on that toilet, and it was just diarrhea after diarrhea. And the more she
Oh
tried to
my
get up off the toilet was the more she had to poop. And then finally she just was like, I can't do this pain anymore. I want an epidural. And the game plan was no epidural. Um, well, she ended up getting the epidural. um an epidural typically takes, like, if you have no complications or anything, it usually takes maybe about 15-20 minutes for them to administer it. It takes about 45 minutes for the epidural to kick in. Well, she got the epidural, and in less than 2 minutes of receiving that epidural, she got the sensation of she has to poop. And when she laid back to get a cervical check, it was time to push. And she delivered that baby without the epidural kicking in.
Yeah, I was gonna
By
say
the
that's
time,
natural. Yeah.
yeah, by the time the epidural kicked in,
god.
baby was like, she had maybe, I think she pushed two more times. But when the epidural kicked in, she was pushing, and then she fell asleep. And we were like, all laughing. We're giggling, and I'm tapping her, and I'm like, wake up, wake up. And she's like, huh? And I was like, oh my God, the epidural has kicked in. Because
I
once
was
the
gonna
epidural
say.
kicked in, it relaxes you, and like, you're exhausted, so you get sleepy.
Yeah.
So funny.
And she
Yeah.
fell
No, that
asleep in the middle
epidural
of
nap is
pushing.
like,
Yeah.
that's
She
so
fell asleep in
funny.
the middle of pushing. And I'm telling her, wake up, wake up, wake up. Like you're pushing a baby out, and you fell asleep on yourself. And she just like kind of woke herself up, pushed the baby out, and then was kind of like, ugh, and then woke up
Oh,
again, and then was crying, and all like full of joy that she's seen this baby. But that had to be the funniest and the strangest thing ever. I just was
So
wow.
like,
funny.
and she was like so angry about it, because then after, like, she's like, I got an epidural, and then I pushed this baby out like 2 minutes after this damn epidural. She's like, I could have just not had the epidural. And I was like, yeah. I was
Oh my
like,
god, it
that's
just
how
went
it
so
goes.
fast. She had no idea it was gonna go so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, if anyone asks you if you delivered your baby naturally, just say, yeah. Don't even say you got an epidural, because
Right.
by the time it kicked in, you did two more pushes, and your baby was out. She was out.
That's so funny. But you know what? Like, actually having that might be a little bit of a flex, because then the pain all afterwards, like,
Yeah.
you're numbed for a bit. Like, you're in a little paradise for a bit. Like,
Yeah, it was funny, because she had to get some stitches, And the doctor was like, "Are you feeling anything?" And she was like, "No." She's like, "Absolutely numb down there." She was like, "I'm not feeling a thing." And
Yeah.
typically, like, even like typically, if when you get an epidural at a like more reasonable time, after pushing, if you have to get stitches, you're feeling it, like you feel that.
Oh yeah,
She felt
Oh,
absolutely nothing because the epidural had just kicked in.
that's
mm.
nice. Yeah,
No, I didn't feel my stitches, thank goodness,
because
but
you had an
Yeah.
epidural,
I know, but I'm saying, like, I didn't, like,
right? But
even after pushing. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
sister had to get stitches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
And you feel all that when there's no
Yeah.
epidural.
No,
Yeah.
that is hilarious. But that just goes to show how exhausting labor is, that you really can like fall asleep in these crazy
Yeah.
positions. Honestly, I'm surprised she didn't fall asleep on the toilet because
Yeah.
that's oh
No,
wow.
probably that diarrhea helped her, open up a little bit too, who knows?
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
god, that's wild. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
sure
one.
you have so many stories in your book of,
Oh
you know.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, cuz
Definitely.
I was going to ask you, cuz I know, like, for instance with my sister it all happened like so quickly, and like she literally called you and was like, "I'm here, like, come." Do you just have to, like, are you just like this night owl, or do you just like wake up with any phone? Are you a light sleeper? Like, how does this work when you're just like are you just on call and that's just it?
Yeah, so typically a birth doula is on call for 3 weeks. So usually the week before the due
Mm,
date, the week of the due date, and the week after the due date. So once I fall into that window, I'm pretty much on call. I try not to. I would say for me, I have no life at during that window. I am
Mm,
between like home and visiting clients during the day, like I do nothing else, just so that I am available for when my client does call and say to come. Um, but for my birth clients, I have them all on emergency bypass. So when my phone rings, all of my birth clients, they have that. I'm not sure how old you ladies are because I'm a little old. But that salt and pepper song, push it, that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh-huh.
push it, that song.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have that as my ringtone for all my birth clients. So when I hear
That's
that,
perfect.
when I hear it ring, I know it's
You
like
know
go
it.
time. Yeah, I know
Mm.
somebody's like either in labor or there's an issue. So yeah. So it's on emergency bypass. So when they call me in the middle of the night, I'm like, "Okay, on my way, coming." I'm gone. So yeah.
You've conditioned your brain that push it song
Yeah.
Go
is like
time.
I got to get up and go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, and you just have to like drop everything and go. Wow, cuz you
Yes.
could be like out during the day doing something, and if that comes on, bye, sorry, got to go here, like pay my bill,
Yeah.
or I don't know, like anything, like, yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that lifestyle like take a toll on you?
Um When I first started full time, because I started doing being a doula full time last year, for me it was a little challenging because I was like, oh my god, I can't do anything. Like I can't plan my life. Like I am stuck in this house until my client calls me to tell me that they're having a baby. But now I just keep I call it my Mary Poppins bag. So it's my birth bag that I bring when I attend births. When I know I'm on call, my bag is usually in my car. So
Amazing.
then, yeah, so my bag is usually in my car. So then if they call, I could just show up wherever they're at and change my clothes. I keep a change of clothes in the bag. And so then I just change my clothes. But at first, it was really challenging because I was like, um, I want to go to the beach, but can I go to the beach? I'm like, what if they
Mm.
Yeah.
call me and say, and so not until like speaking with other more, I would say more seasoned doulas that have been doing this full time. I'm like, how do you live your life if you're always on call? Because birth doulas typically on range take between 4 to 6 clients, six typically being the
Wow.
max number. And since I like a little challenge, I always take six. Um,
Mm.
so I'm like, I'm always on call. So I'm like, and they're like, I just go to the beach. They're like, I just go to the beach. my bag is in my car, and if they call me, I'm pulling up to the hospital in my swimsuit, and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
take a 2 second shower in the hospital, bathroom in their room, take a quick shower, put on my work clothes, and it's go time. So I started
Yeah.
doing that, just kind of, all right, my bag is in the truck. I got everything I need. When they call, if I have to drop my kids off, I drop them off, and then I go. So yeah.
Wow. I'm sure by this time your family and friends are like conditioned to it too, where they just know like sometimes you got to peace out within 2 seconds and it's
Yeah.
fine. But I was going to ask you about how many clients you take on at one time. And have you ever
Mhm.
had a situation where like two of your clients go to birth at the same time? And like, how do
Ah,
you, how do you deal with that?
Oh
that is the
man.
story of my life.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Really?
I typically take about I usually take 6 clients a month, birth clients a month. Um and they're usually kind of really spread out in the calendar, but for some reason I don't know, if it's my luck or what it is, but I always every month have either two in the same day, like three in the same day, where it's like it never fails. I had the week of Thanksgiving last year, I attended 4 births in 3 days.
That was when
And
your
I
sister
was
gave birth, I think.
She gave birth the week before.
Oh, the week
and
before
yeah,
Thanksgiving.
and
Yeah.
no one was supposed to be due the week of Thanksgiving. And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my god." And I just was like, "Okay, universe, I know I said if you're gonna have these ladies have their babies, please let it be before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving, because I'm trying to eat good." Well,
Yeah.
the universe listened and dropped them all in 3 days, 4 babies, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh!"
god.
I was like, "Team no sleep for real." Um, it was it yeah that it. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it was very tiresome towards the end. Yeah.
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 Wow. No, that's wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Cause well, then you have kids too. So like I said, like whoever
Yeah.
you're dropping your kids off with, they know exactly, you know, what's going on. And oh my gosh. It's amazing
Yeah.
you have that though. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So what inspired you to become a doula? Like what like in your life or what like personality trait or what like what 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 guided you to this path?
So, when I was a teenager, I really wanted to be a midwife.
Mm.
But I happened to fall into childcare, and I actually am still I'm still a licensed childcare provider. So I operated a home daycare in my home for nearly 20 years.
Oh,
Um,
Wow.
and
nice.
I fell into into that line of work. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be a midwife. And I just never pursued it, because I was like, oh, my daycare is operating so great. I'm doing well for myself. I love children. I'm enjoying this moment. I don't want to be a midwife because then I have to go to school and study, and like, who really wants to
Yeah.
do that? That was my train of thought. Um, and then I started just being like a doula on the side, just helping friends out. And then I met a client who was coming to have a tour of my daycare, and she was like, she was pregnant, and I asked her, I was like, "Oh, when are you due? Where are you having your baby? Where are you giving birth at?" And she was like, "I'm having a home birth." And I was like, "What?"
Mm.
And I'm the type of individual, I am very bold. I'm Caribbean, so we like to say very forward. So I'm a very forward person, and I was like, "Can I come to your birth?" And she just was kind of like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Can I be present? I've never been to a home birth. I and at that moment I didn't have any kids of my own." And I was like,
Mhm.
I've never been to a home birth. I'm just curious, like what it's like, what it will be like. And she was like, absolutely, you can attend. And so I attended her home birth, and I helped her during her laboring,
Wow.
and just like became exposed, um, to like the whole home birth and all of those things and cloth diapering, that whole
Yeah.
crunchy mom life. I
Yeah.
became exposed to, and I just was like, wow. And from there, she enrolled her baby to my daycare. A couple years later, she had another baby. I attended her that home birth as well. She then referred me to other friends, for childcare services and doula services. And at that time,
Wow.
I really didn't know what a doula was. Um, I just loved the experience and loved helping and just being present. So I did that. So a lot of my kids from my daycare that I had gotten, I had attended their births. Um, and
How
yeah,
funny.
so that's how
That's
I
so
then
cool.
became a doula on the side. And then 2023, I was like, okay, I want to do something different. I've been in childcare for nearly 20 years. I am done being locked up in my house. What else can I do that is another passion of mine? And that's when I was like, I'm gonna become a certified doula. And my cousin's wife, she is the one who kind of guided me and was like, because she's a certified doula, and she was like, oh, here's these programs. This is how much these different programs cost. So I did my homework, and then I was like, okay, let me start taking some classes. And this is where I'm at now. I'm now full time with it for a whole year, and I absolutely love it. I think I love it more than taking care of babies. Yeah, run and then operating a
Mm.
daycare. I think I love this way more than that. Yeah.
Wow. That's so that it takes such a personality to do this line of work too. And just like you being so, like you said, forward, and you're like, I want to be in the home birth. Let's do it. Like
Yeah.
that could never be me. But like I love that there are people on this earth that are like you because we need that. No, wow. That's so cool. Like how
Yeah.
special. And I know that you also um you talked a little bit about postpartum services too,
Hmm.
about how you come to the home a few times afterwards, right? Or how does that work
Yeah.
actually
Yes.
Can you
postpartum?
explain like postpartum doula, what that entails? Because I
Because
think
I
that
think you
one's
also
less
like
common.
you said like you're out of childcare, but you still get to like hold babies a little bit like
Yeah.
afterwards, no?
Yeah. Yeah, so a postpartum doula, they help the birthing individual after they've had their baby. So there are postpartum doulas that do daytime work, which they go to the client's home in the daytime, and they do a variety of things, whether it's tidying up the kitchen or the bedrooms, or watching baby while you take a nap or take a shower. Some doulas
Almost like
do
an
meal preps.
almost like a almost like a night nurse in a way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what they do in the daytime, and then there's overnight postpartum, which is I come in the evening, I come overnight, and I take care of your baby in the night while you get some good night rest. With overnight postpartum, we typically do sanitizing of bottles. If you're breastfeeding, we'll sanitize your breast pumps and get it ready for you. Um, we do laundry. Sometimes I meal prep in the middle of the night if I'm doing an overnight
Wow.
postpartum. So then when they wake up in the morning, they have a couple containers of food in their refrigerator for them, for a few days. So yeah, so it's a variety of things of what a postpartum doula does. But there some of them do daytime and some of them do overnight, and then people like me, I do both. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you do
Wow.
everything. And I was
Yeah.
going to ask, like, so you do the full spectrum, fertility to birth to postpartum to the transition to, death. Which
Yes.
one is your favorite, like as far as like working with clients, what you do, like which one is your favorite if you had to pick?
I would say the postpartum is my favorite.
All the
Yeah.
Mm.
newborn snuggles.
Yes. Yeah, I love the postpartum is definitely my favorite. Because I get to snuggle the babies. They're squishy, they always smell good. And
Ugh,
and then
best.
it's like especially for like new parents, I can help guide them on how
Oh,
to
yeah.
get through the day, get through the night of taking care of
So
their baby.
I'm
important.
sure
Yeah.
you deal with a lot of tears because we've talked about our postpartum journeys, especially the first time around. It's like I wish I had someone like that I could confide in and be like, "What
And
the
Yeah.
f is happening?"
it's just so yeah, it's just so I mean, it's amazing that you do that, right? But it's just so sad that number one, like nobody knows that a doula does that. And number two,
Exactly.
like it's not like it's not covered by anything, but whatever. I won't get
Yeah.
into it. But yeah, like because it is so necessary. It's so
Yeah, because we've
necessary.
talked about it. You're kind of just thrown, and we the first time around I was very ignorant about all the things like breastfeeding, all like
Hmm.
I
Oh
didn't
my
have
God.
anyone to talk to about it and I didn't know. I mean, Lila and I gave birth around the same time, so we were both drowning together and just like so yeah, I wish I had someone to just confide and just like validate my feelings of like why do
Yes.
I just feel like the world is ending?
Yeah.
And to help around the house, like yeah, that's oh my gosh, a postpartum
It's
doula just seems I'm definitely gonna look into
Yes.
that the
Yeah,
next time around.
you can actually with your if you have private insurance, you can get a postpartum doula as long as you have FSA or HRA, and as long as the doula is certified. Um your insurance, you can pay it with your
That's
flexible
so
spending.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or you can there's a program that's called Carrot, it's called Carrot Fertility. Don't ask me what the carrot stands for. I have no idea. But they as well will reimburse you your money if you get a like postpartum, if you have a postpartum doula. So you can actually get a
Wow.
postpartum doula. Yeah, with those services.
That's
wow. So
amazing.
I have an OB appointment next week. I am going to talk to them about this because like you said, it only happens when you inquire about it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm definitely going to because it sounds so amazing and what our country needs and
Mhm.
it's just not talked about and wow. No, for sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure
because
for
Yeah.
we've
sure.
even talked about lightly about how in other countries you get like a year off of work, like
Oh
when you
yeah.
give birth, and us it's like you're not even guaranteed, the
Yeah.
12 weeks, 6 weeks, like 2 week, like it's insane.
Oh my god, have
Yeah.
you heard in New York City there's like a postpartum retreat, like
Yes,
a
I've
hotel.
heard
Have you
of
heard
it.
about that?
Yes.
There's a hotel that like there's nurses and doctors and they
Yeah, I've heard of it.
it's
And they
literally
like cater
catered
to
to your
you. Mhm.
it's catered to
Wow,
your whole postpartum experience and I mean
that's insane.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I don't know if that kind of bouginess is covered by
Yeah.
insurance, but
Yeah.
it's literally having a doula but for like the month after you give birth or like 2 or 3
Right.
weeks or something along those
Yeah.
lines. Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
amazing because even in most hospitals now they got rid of like the nursery, so like these parents can't even get some sleep,
Sleep.
you know,
Yeah.
for a
Oh
few
yeah.
days. But yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm 100% looking into that. And you need to look into that like now.
The doula? Yeah,
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
doula, yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm flying to New York to
No,
go
no,
get
no, not the retreat. Not the retreat.
I wish. Oh my
Yeah.
god. No, that's amazing. Wow. Um, so Savannah, did you have any more
Let me
questions?
look if I answered all my questions. What does yeah, I think all my questions. And then I was just
Well,
gonna ask about
well,
yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you go.
Well, then also, I mean, I did have one more like it was a second part of a question that I had
Mhm.
like um when someone's looking for a doula, what should they look for or what should they like what's a red flag, what are green flags, what are like the things to look out for, what kind of vibe you're looking for and
Mhm.
what to run away from, you know?
Yeah. Um so when looking for a doula, hmm I would say honestly, I would say whether the person is certified or not certified, it that really doesn't matter. Um,
Okay.
it's more so the level of experience that they have. Because sometimes, especially when it comes to birth, um, I always say get someone that's a little more seasoned. Just because sometimes a newbie, they're new and they are
Yeah.
probably hella nervous. Even though they need the opportunity, they definitely need the opportunity. But they are extremely nervous, especially if you're like a first time mom. I always say try to
Right.
get someone that has a little bit of experience underneath their belt, just because you're a first time parent and you probably, if you hire someone that is like freshly certified and has never been out in this field, you probably know as much as they do. It's possible.
Mhm.
So I always say try
Yeah.
to get someone that is a little seasoned. um
So maybe like 4 or 5 years in type of thing, like
Yeah, or even 2 years in, because
okay.
with it, especially if I would say at minimum 2 years, but they would have to definitely, this would have to be their full time thing, because if they're
Right.
in it full time, then they've been to a lot of births. They've attended many births within a first year. They should have within the first 2 years. Um, I also say do in-person interviews, um
Mm.
because you have to be able to connect with that doula. um I always question the doulas that just take anybody, because like for me, I don't take any client. um Sometimes
Oh,
if
so
I
like
meet a client.
you also need
Well,
so
Yeah,
that was
you
going
also
to
need
be
to
one
vibe
of
with
my
them.
questions. If like, so she asked about red flags, but like, do you have red flags of like, have you had to drop clients because like not
yes,
the
I
Ooh.
vibe?
have. I am, so my business is a holistic spiritual business. So my doula business roots off of another business that I own and operate. So everything I do has a holistic and spiritual aspect. So for me, if my energy does not connect with you, then I instantly will tell you I'm sorry. I will say I am not a right fit for you. I will never say you're not a right fit for
Wow.
me. I am not a right fit for you because my energy just doesn't vibe with you. So that I have declined clients before, um, and I've declined clients and I've never met them in person. I just talk to them on the phone and I'm like, yeah, no.
You just knew.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this is not gonna work. So I definitely always say try to have at least a video consultation with your doula, just so you can kind of see how the energy is, how it meshes, because at the end of the day, she's gonna be in your hoo-ha. Like she
Yeah,
is
she's
gonna
going
be
to see
all
you
in
at
your
your
personal.
deepest, darkest. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to be your best friend at that, during labor and
Yeah.
delivery. Like you're putting your trust into this person. So I always say definitely like do a video interview or try to meet that doula in person. Don't just book that doula based off of a phone call or based off of their reviews solely, or
Mm,
because XYZ introduced you to them, and
right.
it what may have worked for XYZ may not work for you. So I always say do a video or in-person consultation, just so you can see if you guys mesh. um, but I will also say, huh, what else I find to be a red flag. um Sometimes I find the some of the doulas that charge very, very cheap.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm.
saying get you an expensive doula, but there
No.
are some
Be in
doulas.
the median.
Yeah, but there are some doulas that charge like they either do it for free or they're really, really cheap. I'm a little questionable about those kinds of doulas.
Yeah, for
Okay. Well,
Um,
that
sure.
makes sense.
Yeah.
just because this line of work, we put in a lot of energy and a lot of time.
Yep.
when it comes to labor in the birth aspect. It's a lot. And I question the doulas that are like, "Oh, I only charge 400 for a birth service." And I'm like, what's
Right. No,
included?
for sure.
What's included in that $400? What are you bringing when it's time for
Yeah.
me to, have this baby? What's inside your bag? Like, what are you providing? Like, how are you helping me? I
Mm,
question those kinds of doulas. Not saying get you a $4,000 doula, but you know,
right.
Yeah.
um, just I always say ask them, what do you provide? What When it's time to have this baby, are you coming with the bag? What's inside that bag? Um,
Mm,
that's really important as well. Knowing what they're providing when they are coming for your labor and delivery.
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's all very insightful.
Yeah. I have
Um,
another question
oh,
that
I
just
do
kind of
too.
came to me. Okay, wait, me first.
Okay,
Okay.
fine.
So on this podcast, we talk a lot about like advocating, especially like
Mhm.
during pregnancy, especially during birth. And like our
Mhm.
first time around, we weren't very good about that. And so I know Lila's been a lot better second time around. Like even at her prenatal appointments, I was a lot better
Mhm.
second time around about. So I know a big reason why people get birth doulas is for that advocation to kind of help. So have you ever gotten into it with like the birth team, like the nurses or doctors, and like did it get
I,
messy? Like
See,
I
that
would know
that
to
was my
be.
question.
I
It was like, have you ever clashed with have you ever clashed with the medical team, or has there ever been a,
Yeah.
or do you like know everybody? You're like, yo, what's up? I
Because
don't
you
know.
give
Like,
me the vibe that
yeah.
like you said, you'll tell it how it is. So like if they're saying like, no,
Yeah.
you need this medication or whatever, you're gonna be like, no, she doesn't, or whatever.
yeah. So
Yeah.
how does that work?
So I typically try to be the little person that sits on your shoulder and that speaks in your ear. I try not to overstep my boundaries especially if it's a hospital birth. I make sure that my clients are well informed before we are in this hospital for a labor and delivery, for them to know and understand and make the choices that they need to make for themselves and what fits for their family. Um, so usually if I have like a doctor or a nurse that is recommending something and I'm kind of like, she's not really giving you the full details or the full information about it. If you have a birthing partner that is with you in the room, I will go to that birthing partner and be like, and tell them, I need you to speak up, and um, let them advocate for their partner.
Mm.
Or if I have had clients that it's just them, the birthing individual, and myself, I will look at the birthing individual and be like, "Hey, I need to talk to you for a second before, you make any decisions or whatever." And then I will inform them they're not really giving you full details about things. You need to ask them a little for them to explain it a little more, and so forth. And so if that client is bold enough to, like, has the courage to be like, "Okay, no, can you explain that more? Can you be more detailed?" Then they do it. Sometimes they're like, I'm too scared to ask. And I'm like, okay, do you want me to do it? And so then I will ask, and I will inquire for them so that they can get the information that they need. But that's typically how I try to be, because I don't want to be on anybody's bad side, because I'm like, I'm stepping into their office as a guest. So I'm just kind of like being respectful, but also trying to advocate for my client in a way that she can advocate for herself, that
Yeah.
they can do it
Mm.
themselves. But I have had a situation recently. It was last month. My client, she chose to give birth at a birthing center, and it didn't work out too well in the birthing center, and we had to transfer to a hospital. And when we got to the hospital, um, the very first nurse that greeted us, my client was at a stage that she was 10 centimeters dilated and she needed to push. But her
Ooh.
pelvic floor muscles were so strong, we couldn't get that baby past where the baby was. She was struggling. and baby showed signs of meconium in her inside, and so we had to go to the hospital. So in the process of us um, walking through the hospital to get to her room, she had to stop every few seconds to basically stop herself from pushing because she needed to push. It was time. And the first nurse that greeted us was not very friendly. And she was just like, come on, the room is right here. Just come into the room. And I had to look at her and say, do you not realize that she is effing trying to push and she's trying to hold it? And
Oh
the nurse was
no.
just kind of like, oh. And I'm like, okay. So when we got into the room and she got in the bed, of course, the room filled with a ton of staff because this is an emergency. They don't know the situation of the baby, so it was way more staff than normal. Um, and the OBGYN comes in, and the first thing she says to my client is, would you like an epidural? And my client had been in labor for over 24 hours naturally. And my client was confused when this OBGYN comes in, and the first thing she says is, would you like to have an epidural? We have to do a cervical check on you. And my client looks at me and she's like, huh? And I'm looking and I'm like, what? And the staff in the room, the nurses in the room, their faces are like, what? Like, what is she talking about? Like an epidural? Like, what? And my
Yeah.
client says to me, do you think I should get an epidural? And I had to respond, would you like the doula answer or would you like a friend answer? Because I have two different
Mm.
answers for you. And she goes, you've been with me for over 24 hours. You are now my friend. She was like, I need your friend answer. What is your friend answer? And I said, we have, oh, you hear the ringtone?
Oh, okay.
That's one of my clients calling me, one of my birth clients. Um,
Do you need to take it?
no, because she's a regular caller. She prefers
Okay.
calling than
Okay.
texting. Um,
Got it. Okay.
yeah.
That would be
Um,
me, by the way.
yeah, so my client was like, I would like for you to, give me an answer as, as a friend. And I said, no problem. I was like, you've been laboring for over 24 hours. Why in the fuck are we going to get an epidural now?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
no sense. You are 10 centimeters
Yeah.
dilated. We know the reason why we can't get this baby out is because your pelvic floor muscles are like hella strong, and we
Yeah.
can't figure out what position to get you into to get this baby past that area.
So we left off talking about the client of yours who the OB asked for
Oh,
a
yes, for the epidural.
epidural, and you gave the friend answer,
Like,
and
Yeah.
then, but I do want to know, did that client end up giving birth naturally, or
Yeah, so
had to have a C-section, or what happened?
she did end up giving birth naturally. So what happened is when I gave my friend answer and I said, we've been at this for over 24 hours. Why the fuck are we going to do an epidural? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, no, we're not doing an epidural. That's off the table, not happening. The OBGYN then says and yells at me and says, hey, doula, you are not a medical staff. You don't have the right to give her any medical decisions. And I turned around and I
Oh
said,
no.
hey, you fucking OBGYN, you didn't hear what I said, did you? And I basically was like, I asked her, does she want a friend response or a doula response? I said, everyone in this effing room heard me say friend response, and I gave it to her. She doesn't want an epidural, so what's the next move, sis? That was my response to her.
I'm obsessed.
And the OBGYN was like, she has 15 minutes to push this baby out of her vagina, or she is going to have an emergency C-section. So I went to my client and I leaned towards her. And, by then she's distraught because she's been over 24 hours. Like, it was way over 24 hours. Like, by that time, we were pushing close to 36 hours of laboring. And she was about 4 hours into pushing. So she just was out of it. She was exhausted. And I leaned towards her and I told her, you are going to have to push that baby as hard as you can with all your might. I was like, if you feel like you're going to pass out, I need you to still keep pushing, because if you want this baby naturally, this is our only choice. We got 15 minutes. Let's get her out in 2. And my client was like, okay. She was like, all right. And
Like,
Lock
yeah,
in.
she just
Yeah.
it just kicked in her, and she leaned
fuck
forward.
yeah.
She began to push, and the doctor kind of was like, okay, she's like real really laid back, just and I looked at the doctor and I was like, can you get in her fucking vagina and help us? And she just got up on a stool, stuck her hands in this woman's vagina, and was stretching the life out of my client's vagina. And I'm yelling at my client and I'm going, push! I need you to push this baby out now. And she's like, ugh, fighting. But she got her baby out. She got her baby out in 5 minutes.
Woo!
She had a natural birth. And after she got the baby out, the OBGYN says to my client, congratulations, you got exactly what you wanted. And she was like, and I just have to tell you that your doula is a rock star. She was like,
Oh my god.
she was like, she did not back down from me at all. And I was like, yeah, no, you don't know who you're messing with. I was like, we've been at this for way too long for this to end as a C-section. Like, this was just not happening. I was like, we were vaginally going to deliver this baby. There was just no way.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was, it was very intense when I snapped back, because all of the nurses were like, oh, yeah, because I mean, F-bombs and all kinds of things were coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
As I'm talking to this doctor, and all of the nurses, some of the nurses, there was one nurse I would never forget. She was like, and she just kind of
That's
was like,
incredible.
oh. And I was like, yeah, we're doing this. This is happening. But yeah.
Wow.
That's
What
an
a story.
amazing story.
Yeah, I rarely try to get into it because I'm like, man, I'm going to have to see her again at some point.
Right.
Somebody's going to have a baby at that hospital, and she's just going to just so happen be on call, and I'm going to have to see her again. But
I feel like you
can't...
earned her respect, because she's like, wow, you stood up to me and okay, I see you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's so amazing.
What a great story.
But I love how you said with the advocating that you go to them first, you try to have them advocate for themselves, have the partner advocate before you step in, but you'll always
there's
step
a chain of command almost.
I love
that.
I love that because at the end of the day, you do want them to hold their own power and advocate for themselves. But for those people who really I really can't, I don't like confrontation or whatever, you'll always step in. That's amazing.
You are seriously a certified angel. That's what your title should be. No. No. Candice, it has been such a pleasure having you on. We're just so happy I feel like I have gained a wealth of knowledge. I hope our listeners have too. And now I'm going to be, next week at my OB appointment, I'm going to ask about doulas. And then if I have any questions, I'm coming to you. I'm DMing you. And if you have anything to say about anybody in Orlando, Yeah, no, we've really loved having you on. On that note, thank you so much for listening to the Scrunchy Moms Club podcast. If you don't already follow us, please follow us at Scrunchy Moms Club podcast on TikTok, on Instagram. Give us a subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Scrunchy Moms Club podcast. We are the pink one. Give us a like, give us a review, give us a comment, especially on this episode since it was so legit. And yeah, again, thank you, Candice, so much. And everybody have a lovely week. Bye.